And we're live. Let's introduce ourselves first, James, because immediately people are probably a little bit confused because I'm obviously a world famous LinkedIn Live host
Yes, sure.
and YouTuber in my own right for Real Inbound. So my company's called Real Inbound, and if you have seen me on LinkedIn, it'll be in connection with Real Inbound. But I'm looking at your backdrop, and you've got Hubstart. That's not Real Inbound. So
I know.
who are you? And why are
Shock
you
horror.
here?
Well, some people watching may know me as one of the team members at Real Inbound, but I also run my own HubSpot agency called Hubstart. And we focus on the technical aspects of HubSpot, like integrations, the HubSpot CMS, and all those areas that require that more technical development knowledge to help you take HubSpot to the next level. We work together on quite a few different projects.
Yeah, exactly. We've worked together for a long time now. In all seriousness, James is like the son that I never wanted. And this is why he's got the headset, because he's more technical than I am. So I do all the gabbing bits, and we work with James on his clients, and James works with us on our clients, and we have a generally like you do in HubSpot. We just generally have a really close relationship, helping each other out. As many partners, and actually this webinar has come from a collaboration that we were having. We had our thinking caps on for a client and wondering how we were going to do a thing. And James suggests that we use goals. That's why we decided let's do a whole session on goals. Goals is really interesting, and I think a hidden feature in HubSpot. You don't see an awful lot about it. You don't see an awful lot of people talk about it. So we're going to have a look at goals today. We're going to talk a little bit about why you should use them first off. Then James is going to show us how to use them. And then, if you're still with us, we're going to take you into the stratosphere and see what you can do with goals, because they can get pretty powerful. A goal is a target in any other language, and it's the most simple display in HubSpot of your progress against a performance metric. Let's say a target. So if you've got HubSpot, you'll know what a HubSpot dashboard is. You'll know about HubSpot reporting, and you might even know about custom reports in HubSpot. HubSpot, hey, Jono, somebody's alive. Somebody's out there. Jono Price is there. HubSpot reports are really complex, really powerful. And if you've got somebody like James who knows what they're doing, helping you out, you can do pretty much anything in a HubSpot report. So I like to think of them as being able to offer you insight into the business, into your business's functions itself, things like sales cycle length, things like progress of your life cycle, even the buyer journey itself. So really interesting, deep, complex ideas. Whereas sometimes we just want to know how we're doing against a goal. Sometimes we just want to know if a salesperson has hit target or not. We just want to know how far a salesperson is off target. We want to know if our customer service team is doing what it should be doing. Sometimes we just want to know top line how we're doing. And this is where goals come in. So goals is in a different part of HubSpot. It's not under reports, which is where you might expect to find it. Actually, in the new navigation, it is under reports, but it's not part of the reporting dashboard. It's not part of the reporting functionality. So we'll show you how to get to that in a sec. But if you're looking for goals, you'll find it there. You'll find it just as a little. Actually, James, would you? It makes sense to show us where goals is as I'm talking about it. If I add your screen to the.
So we're working on the navigation, which is literally going live tomorrow. Some of you may be already using this already, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm finding it quite a lot more easy to use and kind of similar to other CRMs out there as well. So you'll find it here under reporting and data, and then it's sat here as goals, just next to some of these other HubSpot reports that you're more used to. And if we dig into that, that will take you through to the main goals dashboard.
So previously, you might have found it a little bit of a struggle to find it, but under the new navigation, it is where it makes sense to be, but it isn't in reporting, perhaps, which is where you might have thought to find it. What it offers, and I think this is the point, and this is why I'm keen for others to look at it. What it offers is a really clear indication of progress, particularly progress against KPI. It's not just all about revenue, although that's the example James is about to take you through. James, take it away.
So we've set up a just a revenue goal in our demo portal, so you can see visually what this looks like. So the way that the goal reporting is set up is to be very standardized. So when you go into here and you look at different goals, you'll always be in this format, which will show you your goals built over. You can do it over months or quarters or your weeks or over the course of the year, depending on how often you report on these and what your targets are based on. And then looking at the different team members that you have, or if you want, you can also look at them on a team basis. So we've got in our HubSpot demo instance just one team, which is our sales team. But if you're looking at multiple teams and you're sort of wanting to report on how individual teams are going against each other, that's as simple as toggling over here. And if you were to look into a team or individual team members, you do that over here from the user section. So I've set up this this forecasted revenue goal using some of the test data we've got in our test portal. So you'll see here that for the deals that we've had closing over the last 3 months, the last 2 months and the current month, we've got our different revenue goals that we've assigned to people, and we can see how we're tracking against those goals. So for instance, we looked at back in March, we can see that I was doing best against my £50,000 target for the month's closed revenue, and that Tony was doing the worst. But over the course of the 3 months,
I'd just like to point out this is obviously fake data, James. At this point,
it is. Yeah,
just demonstration data. Not that I was doing, not that I'm competitive, obviously, but clarify that.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mark absolutely hadn't smashed it to make 2,000% of his goal.
He's done quite well there. 2,000% of his target. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, yeah. If only. I mean, I'd love to be showing a score like that, but definitely not so far. But it just shows it really is very easy to visualize. You can just look at each person, how they're doing, compare them across, who's doing best, see who needs a bit more help, see who's improving month on month or quarter on quarter, and use that data in your coaching. And then if you want to update your goals, you literally just go over to edit goal over here for an individual person, and you can either set one goal across the board that updates for every month, or if you want to do tiered goals where it increases over time and you put a bit more pressure and a bit higher target on people month by month or quarter by quarter, you can do that as well.
And if I jump in just quickly again, James, before we go on to show people how to create this is what I meant. You look at it, it's a little bit like an old-fashioned spreadsheet almost. You've got the salesperson, in this case it's revenue, right? You've got the salesperson down the side, you've got the months across the top, and if you scroll right over to the right, it'll also show you the total for the year, right? So if you're a sales manager and you're using HubSpot to manage your team, forget about the dashboards, forget about the pipeline, don't forget about those things. They're obviously all useful in themselves. But this just shows you exactly what it is you need to see. And you've got a team of 3 people like we have, or they're not selling, but if you've got 30 people, you can do it the same. It's just as easy to see. You can break it down by team goals, you can break it down by individual users, you can look at different pipelines. This is, again, I highly recommend this is a place that you go to control, and not just revenue, we'll come on to that in a bit, but control what's going on in the portal. So imagine the dashboards, the HubSpot reports are for your deep dive. This is your day-to-day. How is so-and-so doing against their target? Has Mark hit his target yet? Is he going to beat that £6 million that that he brought in that 1 month? It's for those kind of like day-to-day managing the team, coaching the team insights, rather than let's get to the bottom of something that's really complex or something that we're puzzling over, which is obviously what the dashboards are for. James, do you want to just kick on and have a look at, explain to people how you set this up?
Yep.
You can see it live, perhaps, how we can build it.
Sure. So there is quite a lot of breadth to the types of goals that we can set up in HubSpot. This tool has come on leaps and bounds within the last few months from what it used to be. It used to be that on the pro tier of HubSpot, you could just set revenue goals and it's job done. And then on enterprise, you had a little bit more flexibility to include things like number of calls, number of meetings, and number of new deals that have been created. But that was literally it, even for someone on the enterprise tier. But now you can make goals on pretty much anything. So you'll see up here I've got options for sort of filtering the goals that I'm seeing here by the name of a goal or by a particular goal template. But there is a ton of different templates available for you to choose from here. So if I go to create a new goal, I have a couple of different options. I can either create one from a template, or if you are an enterprise HubSpot client, you can also create one completely from scratch and have that total flexibility to base on whatever metrics you as a business track. So let's first have a look at the template one, seeing as this will be available to a wider range of users. And you can see here that not only have we got goals for the sales team, we've also got them for the customer support team, and even now for the marketing team. You can also break it down by different types of record in HubSpot. So if your goals are more centric on deals, as they would be for sales, you can create targets around deals. For your customer support, you can create them around tickets, and across the board, you can create them around meetings. And then there's a few other options in there as well. So if you like, you can just take one of these goals and then create from the template a set of goals. So if I wanted to do one on meetings booked, I could hit the set goal to grab that template. I can give that goal a name. I can then choose which users I want to set that goal against, the duration of the cycle for the different targets. So in this case, let's say it's quarterly for comparison. I then hit next, and then I can apply individual targets to the team for those different periods. So if I want, as I said before, I can have different goals that sort of accumulate over time. So if you want to start off new, fresh Mark joining the team with 5 meetings for his first quarter, and then gradually up him from 10 to 15 to 20, you can do that. And then Tony, who is a seasoned sales professional,
You said him old.
we obviously... I'm just saying you're highly experienced, Tony, and
Yes,
for that reason, you're not getting cut any of the slack that Mark is, and we're expecting 20 from day one or from Q1 right the way through.
I'm sweating already, and it's only pretend targets. My God, it's taking me back to my sales days.
I know. Well, to make you feel like this is more of a team effort, I'll be just as harsh to myself and give myself 20 across the board as well. So it's only Mark that was slightly letting off the hook today.
So we're ramping Mark. He's our new hire. I like it.
Exactly, yeah. So then once we've got those in place, we can set our notifications if we want notifications. So you can tell the different team members, hey, you've got a new goal that's been set from you, and this is what we're going to be looking at in our monthly or quarterly metrics meetings. You can applaud them for when they exceed their goal or achieve it, and you can let them know if they haven't quite hit their goal for a month or quarter, whatever the period is. Just keep people to account for those. And then once you've got that set up,
you don't even have to tell. Excuse me. You don't even have to tell the user the salesperson directly. If you're a sales manager, you can set these notifications up. So as soon as they've hit the target, bang, they'll get an email, and obviously you can send that notification to whoever. So you send it to the sales manager, sales director, your managing director, your chief exec, or whoever as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. So these are my new goals in here now. If I wanted, I could filter. I could toggle back and look at my revenue goals as well by month. One thing to note is these goals will only refresh every 24 hours, so they're not updating live. If you're going through and seeing us and entering some data just to play with us a little bit, as we were doing the other day, just note the fact that if you want to then go and test and see how this is working, you need to go into the goals, and you'll see the current progress live here, but you just hit refresh goal progress down here, and then when you look back, you'll see that that's then updated to real time. So that's just useful when you're playing with this and getting a bit of a hang of how it works.
As you said, that the functionality has come on massively in the last year, but the interface still needs a bit of work. It's not the easiest thing in the world to navigate. Once you're here and you can see your targets, obviously it's very straightforward. But navigating in between what they mean by templates and everything else can be a little bit clunky. Get it set up and then sort of leave it set up and get somebody to help you set it up. But I would say that you can have a little bit of difficulty with the nav, but that functionality more makes up for that. And once you're here, there's nothing clearer, is it? I want to see how people are doing against their calls, the telephone calls, against their meetings, against their revenue targets, against, as you're going to show, any number of things. And it's just nice, really clear.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do find, though, that the different options you have available to you here are a little bit limiting, if you've got something very niche that you track your teams against, then you can go and either create a goal as a once-off from scratch by doing the create from scratch option, or if it's a metric that you think that you're going to be using repeatedly for different team members and it's something that's quite core to your business, then you should go and create a new template, which will then be available to pick from the template library here and
if you've
reuse
got a goal,
in the future.
sorry, James, you've got a goal that's really unique to you, and you use it every month, every quarter, every year-on-year performance. You can actually set it up in HubSpot, so that very specific custom goals is there for you to use over and over and over again. Brilliant.
Exactly. And that's something that'd be quite useful for your sales managers, your marketing managers. If you can have that set up for them, then they can just pick that from here. And when they got their new starters or they're setting up their goals for the year ahead, it's right there for them to pick. And as you saw, it's just a few clicks to find those individual goals for that type of goal.
The brilliant thing, and I always say this to people, this is not about salespeople now filling out reports, or even sales managers filling out reports. If your salespeople are using HubSpot properly, if they're using it to send their emails through the connected inbox or directly out to the CRM, if they're using it to record, transcribe their calls, if they book in the meetings in the calendar, which is connected to the CRM, you'll never have to fill out a report ever again. The goals themselves are worked out automatically. So as long as the data is in there, all of this is done for you, well, automatically.
Exactly.
Easy on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be quite a big time save. Of course, to that point, it is reliant on the marketing, sales, and service teams using the system properly. So not only you then holding them to account on their performance goals, but also on their usage of the system. But when you look at a dashboard like this, you'll be able to very clearly see where those discrepancies are. Like if somebody's showing 0 data here for, say, meetings, if you're on the meetings one, it might be that they're not logging their meetings into HubSpot, or they're just having them in their Outlook calendar, for instance. So you can use that to drive usage of the system, which will help you to get that oversight of
it's
what
also
everyone's doing.
a good sell when it comes to change management. If you're one of those people who's starting off with HubSpot, and you're trying to build a case, as we have to do, for why your salespeople or service people or even marketers should be using the platform, well, the payoff for them is that they never have to fill out a report again. And they never have to do another spreadsheet. They never have to update anything at the end of the week, usually on a Friday evening when they want to go home. Because as long as they use it, and it will still be, there will be a bit of friction. You do have to spend time learning how to do this stuff. But if you do use it, then that time save is just enormous, as James was saying. Don't have to fill out a spreadsheet again on where I am against my target, what my forecast is, how many calls I've made, how many meetings I've had. None of the things that you would normally that would take so much time is just surfaced by doing the work in HubSpot. So I always use that as when it comes to adoption stuff. This is going to be a pain, guys. You're going to do something different. You're going to do something perhaps you've not done before. But look at the upside. Not only do management get this great insight, and that insight, by the way, has to be accurate. So you have to make sure that you're accurate as well. Otherwise, you'll get picked up on it. Not only do management get the insight, but you get a load of time back as well. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it definitely is. Don't want it to be all one-sided. So if we go over here now to the template tool, so this is what it looks like when you're going to create a new template. It's quite intuitive, and it's also very flexible. So you can basically create a goal that's centered around any type of object within HubSpot. On our test instance, you'll see all the standard ones here, like the contacts, the companies, the deals, the tickets. But if you are an enterprise user of HubSpot, you'll also have your custom objects in here. So if there are metrics around your custom objects, then you can create goals around those as well. But I'm going to keep it nice and simple here, and I'm just going to create one for contacts. So then once you've got that, then you can give your goal a name. So for that name, I'll base that around the property that we're using to track. So you'll see here that for contacts, I'm seeing all these different properties within HubSpot that can be used as a metric within a goals report. And these are basically all of our numeric properties within HubSpot. So if it's a numeric property, then HubSpot can assign a goal to it because it can count it up in whatever way, and therefore giving people a score on it. So for instance, let's say that I wanted to do a goal based on how people are using the sequences tool in HubSpot. Great tool and very flexible, very useful for when you're doing prospecting in HubSpot. We might touch on that on a future session. But if we want to drive usage of that tool because we know the value of people using their sequences, we might want to actually set a goal for our sales team or our customer service team to use the sequences tool and to put people into sequences. So I choose my property, I give that a logical name, which could be sequence enrollments. And from then I can choose an aggregation type. So for this one, I think it will just be a simple sum. But let's say if we were doing a metric on the average value of deals that have closed over the course of the quarter, I can also use an average. I could also do a count. So if we were just wanting to count up the number of records that have been created, like the number of deals that have been created over a month, for instance, then I could use a count. And then you can also do mins and maxes if those apply to particular types of metrics that you want to do. In this case, actually, we want to use the sum because perhaps you're putting someone into multiple sequences within a month. So what this will then do is it's going to take all the contacts that are owned by by each salesperson. It's going to sum up the number of enrollments that those contacts have had, and then you can sort of base that around a date property. So
if we got a KPI, right, guys, I want to see you get 5 sequences out a day, or 5 a week, or even 5 a month, or whatever. Rather than having to go into the sequences tool, build your filters, have a look at individual salespeople and all the analytics of the sequences, which obviously is really useful, really powerful. Just whack up a goals report, navigate to goals section, select the sequences report, bang, there's your targets, all the salespeople up against that. And that's what I mean by the power of goals versus building reports or jumping into dashboards. They have their place, clearly. Dashboards themselves and custom reports are super powerful. But, you know, for something like this, the numeric properties, as James mentioned, they're so powerful.
Absolutely. So I've now chosen a date property to base this around, which is my last sequence enrolled date. So that's to say that when we look at the months or the quarters that these sequences are falling into, that's what we're then going to use to place the number of sequences enrolled in each month or each quarter. You'll be using for this. You'll be sort of seeing what properties already exist in your HubSpot account. You may find that you don't have enough custom properties within HubSpot yet to track the metric that you want. In which case you should take a step back from this, create those custom properties, and use those within your goal. It may be that you need to think a bit more detail even than that. You may need to create some workflows or some calculated properties, some different things in the background that are going to be used to actually generate the data that's then going to aggregate into this report. And that could potentially get a bit more complex. Obviously, you've got people like Tony and myself who can help you when it comes to situations like that. So we could sort of talk about what's actually the metric that you're trying to track, what you're trying to achieve, and then do the legwork in the background that's then going to allow you to set up that goal accurately. So for example, when I'm thinking about this one, originally what I was thinking to do here was to base it on the number of sequences enrolled and to sum that up. But when I'm thinking about that now in a little bit more, I'm basing this around the last sequence enrolled date here, which is going to be, as it says, the last sequence. And someone could have had multiple enrollments in a sequence that goes back into previous months. So if I wanted to sort of look at how many people have been enrolled in a sequence this month, then I could do a count, and that will count up the number of people that have a value here based on the last sequence enrolled date, and that will give me the number of people per month, per quarter that have been enrolled. But if I wanted to do a sum, then I may then want to create another property, which is number of sequence enrollments this quarter or number of sequence enrollments this month, and a little bit of logic behind that so that that number sets up correctly. And then, whereas this field gives us all time sequences enrolled, that custom field we set up will show us the enrollments for the period that we want to actually then reflect in this end goal. So that's where things can get a little bit more complex, but with HubSpot, it's very flexible. You can create pretty much as many custom fields as you want, as many calculations as you want, and there will be a way of tracking what you want to track if you just give it a little bit of thought.
It's the same thing though with the reports, I find, James. When you actually do get into them, then there's quite a lot of language that is hard to understand. There's a bit of maths in them sometimes, and as a manager, I like the shiny, the graphs. I like the charts that show me a progress wheel and lines, and I'm not really all that bothered on this stuff. So just to reiterate what you said, really, you want to get this set up for yourself, so that you can then go and use it. Don't worry about building it yourselves. Don't worry about learning how to do it. Get it set up either by somebody within your teams or somebody like me or James, as we say, likely it is, it'd be me and James. Get it done so that it works, then you can use it. You don't worry yourself about how do I build HubSpot. You don't worry yourself, how do I program all this stuff. Get a little man in, or a woman, will do that for you so that you can just maximize out on the insight that it provides for you. Don't waste your time, doing all this kind of thing. Is what I would recommend. There's people who can do this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We've done so many of these over time. There's probably a metric that you want to track. There's probably not a metric you want to track that we haven't seen before. There might be if it's something very niche, but as we say, there's always a way.
Sounds like a challenge, James. It sounds like you want somebody to prove you wrong.
I would love someone to try and prove me wrong.
If anybody can come up with a goal or a metric that James and his team haven't already built, you'll win. What will they win, James? Free interview with us. No, something good. A bottle of champagne. Anybody come up with that, and you can be the judge. So we'll keep all the rules to ourselves. If anybody does come up with it, we'll do another LinkedIn Live, and you'll win a bottle of champagne. There you go.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Carry on. Sorry.
So I'm just going to do this as a count now, just so that this webinar doesn't last for it going into the night, as we try and set up that custom stuff. So for this, I'll just have it as the number of people that have been enrolled in a sequence in the last quarter, let's say. And of course, for the tracking method, in this case, the higher the value is, the better, and the lower is worse. But if you do have metrics that are reverse, you do have the option of setting it up that way. Then if you're feeling particularly motivated and not too lazy, you can go and put a description on this so that everyone knows what you were doing and what you were thinking about. And once you've done that, just hit save and set the goal. Or if somebody else on the team is going to use this, then you just do save template and exit. But to show the whole journey here, I'm going to take this goal I've just created and let's set it up for real for some of us. So let's do sequence enrollments by quarter. I'm then going to assign that to the dream team, set it as quarterly duration. You can choose whether you assign this to your fiscal year or to the calendar year if you follow fiscal year. Hit next, and then it's exactly the same as it was before. So we can set our goals very quickly and set our notifications. And just like that, after maybe a minute or two, those goals will be available. We should track on the dashboard alongside the rest. And if someone needs to go back in and reuse that, they would just go back into create from template, just like they would from the presets, and they'll see the new custom ones under my templates.
Brilliant. And it's as easy as that. I know you took some time to explain it, but literally just a couple of clicks. Okay, there is a thing with the language, whether you have a count or a sum and that kind of thing. But it's super fast. I mean, it'd take you longer to do that, to build it in a spreadsheet than it would to build it in HubSpot, I think. Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's there for the rest of the team to use, or rather, new people who come in for, as you can see, other departments can use it. So you could have sales using that, you have customer services using it. It's brilliant, really powerful.
And one last thing, if you need to tweak a goal, you don't have to go from scratch either. You can just copy that template and make adjustments to it if another team wants to nick it for something, or just change it slightly to updating needs. But yeah, other than that, it's all just a bit of maths, a bit of setting up HubSpot the way that it works for you, and then you're off to the races, really.
Fantastic. So just to wrap up now, and thanks so far, James. You make things, I have to say, really easy to understand. It's been a pleasure listening to you explain it. Just show us, if you can, take another couple of minutes, just to show us what's now possible. If you've got the super duper Rolls-Royce version of HubSpot and you can do everything, in other words, the enterprise, and I appreciate not everybody has enterprise, but enterprise is now easier to get than it ever been. With the new pricing that came in April, you could buy a single sales seat for £150, I think, for enterprise, something like that. Then you'll get these goals available to you. Certainly the sales goals will be available to you. I don't think the marketing goals will be. But just show us, James, the depth of what's now capable, particularly from a custom perspective. Perhaps you want to touch on that as well.
I mean, this would definitely fall within that. Like all of these templates where you choose a particular object type and you choose a particular property. This is all something that you would get to have on enterprise. And then likewise, if you were setting yourself up a custom object, then it would work exactly the same way. So if I go to the custom objects tool, for instance, and I was setting up a custom object for tracking something very niche in my business, say cars, if you're a car dealership, then you could set up a custom object there. And when you go to set up a new goal template, then that custom object will be available to choose from here as well. So that is basically all the stuff that's then available to you, this extra layer of flexibility
as you said,
when you're an enterprise. And
it's
other
those,
than that, it's these bits here, really.
Yeah, it's those numeric properties that are in there. And again, with custom object, I forgot about custom objects, but with a custom object as well, you can build pretty much anything that you want to build, provided you've got the subscription for it.
Yeah, exactly. We had a great use case for one of our clients recently because we have a client where the meetings that they have are very key to their sales process, and they track a lot more detailed metrics around those meetings than what you'd normally do within HubSpot. So, within HubSpot, you have things like call and meeting type and call outcome, and a few of those standard fields in there that you can use to sort of segment the types of meetings you're having and the outcomes of those meetings. Well, this particular client, they went into a lot higher level of granularity of that, and they were dividing it by all sorts of different sort of categories and subcategories and things like that, and they needed to report on that down to that degree of granularity. So the standard meetings that you have in HubSpot, when you sort of track your meetings as activities on a contact and you create meetings and so on, they didn't go down to that level of customization that they needed. So we basically created a custom object for them for that client's meetings. And because it was a custom object, just like with contacts, companies and deals, you can create any number of custom properties underneath that, which meant that when we went to create the goals for our client, we could select not the normal meeting, but the custom object for meetings, and we could create metrics for them by selecting all those different custom properties that they wanted to segment their goals by. And they could go into detail and say they wanted to look at how many meetings people are having for this particular type of product that's being sold, or for this particular region and things like that, and report on that within their very detailed sales meetings.
Giving lie to the fact HubSpot can pretty much do whatever you want it to do these days. A highly customizable, highly extensible CRM system just wouldn't have been possible probably even a year ago, certainly a couple of years ago. Brilliant. Thanks, James.
No
I think that just about covers it. We've had a couple of comments. So there were some people watching our efforts, but we'll be recording, or we have recorded this, and we'll be posting this up to YouTube, so it's available. And obviously on LinkedIn, you can watch it back whenever you want to, because it'll be up on LinkedIn. I don't know how long for actually, but you'll see the recorded version on LinkedIn. But yeah, as James mentioned, we're hoping to do a few other things along these sorts of lines. So please feel free to comment on this, or just message us directly if there's something you want us to talk about. Ideally, something that people don't know a lot about, a hidden part of HubSpot. That's really interesting. If you just want to know more about sequences, for instance, as we talked about, or the prospecting space, reports, dashboards themselves, automation, any aspect of HubSpot really you'd like some help with, some clarity on, let us know, and we'll do our best to get on it live and explain it all. Thanks again. Thanks, James. Absolute pleasure. You do a brilliant job. I'm really grateful for your help on this.
worries. Thanks, everyone. Speak soon.